Great, we're live. So welcome everybody to this Hangout on Air. And today we are talking with Andrea Darabos and Ryan Behrman, who are located in the UK. And they're going to be asking Jurgen Appelo questions about Management 3.0 in general and the book tour that's coming up. So Andrea, Ryan, Jurgen, welcome. And Andrea, I'll turn it over to you actually to maybe start with the first questions.
Okay, first of all, thank you, Lisette, for organizing our talk today, and thank you, Jurgen and Ryan, for your time. We have met Jurgen last year on Management 3.0 training, but much earlier through his website, newsletters, and work online with the community. And we were engaged in the work of this community, and we would like to basically continue the discussion through this Hangout about Management 3.0 today and in the future.
Good. Look forward to that.
Yeah.
Good to see you guys.
So maybe before we start, if we have a few words about us, I will start and hand it over to Ryan. So I'm Andrea, and I run a local consultancy on lean agile practices, enterprise transformations, but we work with remote teams and global enterprises. Ryan?
Yeah, hi guys. So yeah, brief introduction of myself. I'm Ryan. I work as an agile coach and trainer, and yeah, I'm really glad to be here. Shall we go straight into the questions?
Yes, please.
Great. So, Jurgen, can you tell us a bit about Management 3.0 and what it is today, how it started, and perhaps how it's evolved?
Well, good questions, both. So, how it started was that I have a blog called noopp.nl, and I intended to write a book about software engineering and computer science. And when I started, I thought, let's do this the agile way and write small pieces of text on my blog to get a feedback cycle going. And when I did that, I noticed that people liked it most when I wrote about management, because I happened to be a manager at an organization in the Netherlands, and I was struggling with the role of the manager in an agile organization, because I was introducing Scrum at that time. And I shared my experiences and my thoughts on how managers could make agile organizations work. And that turned out to be the stuff that people were actually looking for. They basically said, well, that's very interesting, that complexity science and systems thinking stuff, but you should write more about the practical stuff. What do managers do in agile organizations? So basically, the readers of my blog told me to write a book about management, and that is how I got to write Management 3.0. And that was about 3 years ago that the book was released. And then I decided to turn it into a course and got other people involved who took over from me, so I could focus on marketing and developing new materials. And that's where we are now. The follow-up book is going to be released very soon, and that's the status of Management 3.0. It's going to be expanded and extended with a number of very interesting practices that I've found all over the world with my travels to basically all the continents that we have.
Great. Andrea?
Yes, very good answer. Amazing story of the growth of this community and the Management 3.0. When we hold our regular monthly meetups in London with Ryan, we often get asked, what are the good examples, what are the companies, communities around the world that are already practicing Management 3.0 and even helping it evolve further. Building on that, and also on your travels and visits to various companies, what would be a few examples that you would share with us today?
Okay, good question. Well, I also get the question sometimes. So, which companies have implemented Management 3.0? I think it is the wrong question to ask, because actually it is the other way around. From which companies did Management 3.0 borrow its practices? So, for example, one thing that I suggest that people do is organize exploration days or innovation days or ship it days. There are different names for the same practice. It originated at Atlassian. Facebook has its hackathons and Spotify has its hack days, and there are many organizations in the world having great results by having people spend one day of experimentation and learning together, putting aside all their projects and do one day of dedicated learning and experimenting. And I've come across that practice in many organizations. I call it the Management 3.0 practice because it supports all the principles that I aim for with my work. But it would be wrong to say that Facebook is a Management 3.0 company and that they implemented Management 3.0. That doesn't make sense. It's the other way around. I borrowed the practice from Facebook. And it's the same with many other companies. None of them do everything that I think companies should be doing. But there are some very innovative companies that have come quite far, and I think Spotify is one of them. They not only have their hackathons, but they also have business guilds, for example. That's another practice that I often suggest that people implement. So the question, where is Management 3.0 implemented, is incorrect. We should wonder which organizations in the world are the innovative ones. What are they doing? What have they achieved that we can learn from? And how can we join this all together in one cohesive whole that is a new form of management? And I call that Management 3.0. So lots of companies, I would answer. If this is the question, where Management 3.0 is being practiced, well, in many organizations around the world, they just don't use the term because they were first and I came after and I collected their experiences and turned it into a book.
Thank you.
Okay, so I think you've already partly answered this question from your last question, but why is Management 3.0 relevant to all of us today?
It is relevant, I think, because it is about being healthy as an organization. And I think being healthy as a human being is relevant to all humans and not just the people with blonde hair. So for organizations, it's the same. They all should strive to be healthy, and not just the software development companies. That doesn't make much sense. It is something that transcends software development. Granted, I come from a software world. I've been a software engineer myself before I became a manager, and even when I was a manager, I was still developing software. So I know all about software. Actually, it's my only frame of reference. The only work that I've done in the past is working for software organizations. So yes, that's where I come from. That's why I use the word agile, because this is the brand, how it is known in the software world. But in other industries, they use other terms. In manufacturing, they are used to the word lean. In the design world, they use the term design thinking. And there are many other terms out there that I call the brothers and sisters of a family of which agile is just a part, but they share the same DNA. They share the same parents, and the parents are systems thinking and complexity science. It all boils down to good old plain insights from scientific research. Why this works, why this is a healthy way of running your business, running your organization. So yeah, it doesn't only apply to software organizations, though my examples tend to be from software. First of all, because I come from that industry, and second, because software organizations tend to be the ones that are ahead of the others in terms of implementing new kinds of organizations. If you look at the at interesting developments such as liquid organizations or holacracy or whatever. Many of them are heavily software oriented, because those are the kind of people who like experimenting with new kinds of organizations. So it's not strange that we come across software businesses all the time. But that said, it's not just for software, it's for anyone working with creative people, basically.
Great.
And building on that, we should also think about what are the different roles that people take in all these industries and organizations who could contribute to this community and start trying out these games, new methods, new practices in their daily work. So it's not only the software line managers. We often get the question, how could an HR manager benefit from these practices? How could a training manager apply these practices and bring these workouts to the company?
Yeah,
so have you seen any interesting new roles who started applying and benefiting from these new ideas?
You pointed out a couple of interesting roles. HR is one of them. If you decide to have self-organizing teams who are accountable for their own results, and you want to reward them for doing things collaboratively, then it doesn't make sense to have an annual performance appraisal that basically demands that everyone is rewarded individually and promoted individually. But that is how most businesses work. So you have this conflict with what Agile needs on one hand and what HR is used to do on the other. And these conflicts need to be resolved. So people need to know how do we get rid of performance appraisals or change them in a way that they make sense in Agile organizations? How do we evaluate performance of people or teams or units in the organization? How do we pay people salaries? Because people seem to point out again and again that employees are not motivated by money, they're motivated by purpose and great projects. That is true, but ultimately they expect to be paid. And somebody needs to decide how much. And I call that management. And this is usually something that HR is involved in. That is why two of my workout practices in the new book and in the workshop are about money, salary formulas and merit money, a bonus system, because somehow we have to decide how everyone is going to get paid in a way that we find fair and that also is nicely in line with the other Agile principles that we have. And HR is just one of many other departments. We have marketing, we have finance, we have sales, and they all need to change their way of working as well. But that's a lot of people. I focus on the management basically.
Thank you. And this leads us nicely to the new book, which is the management workout.
Well, perhaps, Jurgen, maybe you could tell us something about the book tour that's coming up to the UK in July.
Yeah, sure. So the book that I'm writing is indeed Management Workout, or Management 3.0 Workout. And what I notice is that usually people expect managers to be servant leaders and systems thinkers, but nobody seems to explain to them how exactly they can do this tomorrow morning. They have to delight customers and they have to empower workers, and that is all very true, but that advice is not concrete. It still doesn't tell people what they need to do tomorrow. So I gave examples with how do we change performance appraisals, how do we measure performance and pay people, and all this stuff will be covered with the book and the workshop. And actually I want to go a step further and not just talk about it, but actually have people experience these things. So we will be giving each other, or we will be giving feedback using a feedback rep. We will be using a delegation board to manage self-organization during the workshop. There will be a merit money. There will be a bonus system for people involved in making the workshop happen. They will get part of the income, and people have to decide how much together with each other. So all these practices, or at least as much as I can, will be applied to the workshop itself, because it's a workshop, so we will have to practice what we preach when we get together. Of course, it is not exactly the same as running a company, because we only get together for one day, but we'll do the best we can. And London and Manchester are both on the list. That means we go there. At least we made the dates available because the readers on my mailing list said that would be a good place to go. But now it depends on other people, including you guys, to make it happen. I can only do so much together with Eleanor and Lisette of Collaboration Superpowers. We also need to depend on the local people. They want me to come, which is much appreciated, but then they have to make it happen as well. So make sure that there's at least 8 attendees per city, and if not enough people are interested, okay, fair enough. Then other cities will end up on top of the backlog. So I go where people invite me, and we're going to practice what we preach, and I'm sure it will be fun.
So thank you. We are working on the 2 events this summer, and obviously we are welcoming anyone interested in these events, in the book tour, to email us, contact us directly, Ryan or myself. So how is the book tour different from the traditional Management 3.0 training that you have been running around the world for various years before, both in terms of content and organization?
Well, you point out the two main areas. Organization mainly, because the 2-day classes were organized with local organizations, who then did everything from marketing, sales to registrations and invoicing, and that worked pretty well. But I noticed that with me traveling all over the world, I was working with a different organization every time, and that meant that there was no learning curve, basically, because every time I was dealing with different people. That made it difficult sometimes for me. Now with this workshop, we basically divide the work that was usually done by the traditional local organizer, and we divide it up. Part of it is done by me, part is done by Lisette and Eleanor, and part will be done by the participants themselves, the people who sign up for the workshop. They will have to do a bit more than as they have done with my classes in the past, which was just showing up and sitting in a chair and waiting for me to do my thing. We will get them involved earlier now. It will be more fun, but it will also be more collaborative. And that's in terms of organization. In terms of the content, I don't know yet, because right now I am finishing the book. This week as we speak, basically, and then in early May, I will start focusing 100% on preparing for the workshops. I'm sure it will be very similar as in the 2-day courses, with a bit of explanation, plenty of discussion, and lots of exercises and some games to play. So a healthy mix of all of those. I hope to lean a bit more towards exercises and games, but it depends on how many I can produce on time before we get started. But Finland is first at the end of May. The UK is early July, so even when we've already gotten started with the workshops, I'm sure things will still be developing, and maybe some new ideas will emerge after I did a couple of them. Well, UK will be early July, and I look forward to be there.
Us too. And does it mean that if we have the community early up and running here, that we can also customize or contribute to the content, like suggest interesting topics or questions in advance and customize what we get out of the day?
I will certainly try and facilitate customization as far as that is possible. Of course, people come to, I expect people to come to learn about the topics of the book, so it seems not to make a lot of sense to get people together and then have them suggest completely different topics that are not covered by the book at all, because it is a book tour. But of course, there needs to be some level of customization, and here we already see the very interesting topic of self-organization versus control. How much do you leave to participants to figure out among themselves and do by themselves, and how much control do I keep as a facilitator because I have a certain purpose for that self-organizing system? And this is a fine example covered by the delegation board, by the way, which we will be using in the workshop.
Any other questions from people?
Yeah, just a final question then for me is, what would you say is the value in attending the training?
The value in attending the training is to learn what other organizations are doing to try to get rid of bad management. And that is not only about paying people, it's also about getting them to self-organize, but still keeping a decent sense of control, getting them to develop themselves, improving the system all the time. I call the three principles, and in the subtitle of the book is engage people, improve work, and delight clients. Nobody will disagree with those three principles, I assume. But the practices that people need will be different in the 21st century from what we have learned to do in the previous century. So the main value is learning what other organizations around the world are doing, and going away with a good sense of what a 21st century kind of organization could look like, and hopefully be inspired to implement an idea or two. There will be plenty of ideas and practices discussed, and I'm sure some of them will be quite applicable to the people who attend the workshop.
Great, thank you.
And I have one final question actually for Andrea and Ryan, which are, if people want to sign up for the book tour in London through you, how do they do that? How would they find you?
Yes, so currently we offer a 10% discount for any individual who is interested in signing up for the book tour through the Lean Advantage website, which is www.leanadvantage.co.uk. And also we are aware that for groups larger than 3, Jurgen is offering 20% discount, so they are encouraged to sign up through the Management 3.0 official website.
Great. Any last words before we end the Hangout?
It is always very valuable and inspiring to talk with you guys, and thank you so much for the time. We are very excited to see you both in the UK very soon this summer.
Good.
Great.
Well, London is my favorite city. I keep saying I've been there 10, 15 times, and I'm always glad for a good excuse to return. And this is just another good excuse. One of my last words, or my last word, is if anyone is interested in talking about either the book or the workshops, just reach out to me or Lisette or Eleanor, and we can make it happen either with an interview or a podcast, an article, for a website or something like that. A lot of things are possible because the marketing machine is running now. Make use of it.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay.
All right, thanks everybody. We'll end here.
Yes, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.